Hello, my name is Jason Oliver, and I sell solar panels on Craigslist at the Lake of the Ozarks in beautiful Missouri, uh, United States of America here. And a lot of folks call us, ask us a lot of questions about how many panels they need to run their house. And so I thought I'd put together a quick video for you guys to see if I can go ahead and hit the high points right there. Today I'm going to talk about a grid-tied system, and so to answer the question, how many solar panels do I need to run my house? The answer, ladies and gentlemen, is 6. You need 6 panels. If you get 6 250 watt panels, it's about 1,500 watts. Okay, so it's about the smallest system you can start with, and that's probably enough to run about a side-by-side fridge freezer. To tell you the truth, you're only getting about 5 good hours a day. So even at 1,500 watts, you want to think in terms of kilowatt hours. How many kilowatt hours are you getting from your system? And at 6 panels, each panel at 250 watts is going to provide about a kilowatt hour a day. So if you have 6 of them, you could expect 6 kilowatt hours a day, or in a 30-day month, about 180 kilowatt hours to come off your bill. And in a lot of you guys' cases, that's not enough to cover your whole bill, but it's a good start. And I'm going to go ahead and explain why you should go ahead and get started with that today. It's a good place to understand your location. So here in Missouri, I got a lot of trees, so I get a lot of shade. There's some parts of the year I don't get hardly any sun at all. But during the summer, it's really good. But right here, I got these trees right here. So I've got this solar array out here. Here's 6 panels, and although I'm getting a little shades late in the day, you got to understand what your location is going to produce and what your requirement is for your house. So what is your overall requirement? How much power do you use? And some of the little tools I'm going to talk about today is going to help you understand that. So you want to start with a scalable system. So a lot of the old school systems, you start about 20 grand and you start a system and it costs you a lot of money. Now you can do scalable systems, and that all starts with micro inverters. And here's an example of a micro inverter right here. This is an Aurora Power One series micro inverter. This is attached to the back of the solar panel, and it plugs right in to your solar panel. Positive and negative connections there, and then the trunk comes out. This is a long trunk that runs the length of the solar array, and your microinverter has a little plug right here. Let's see if I can get it in the frame. Right there, and it helps you. Oh, that plugs right in. It's watertight, and then your trunk goes straight to the meter box. Right, so it comes up into your meter box. And it goes backwards. There's a disconnect right here. So for you. Okay, there's a disconnect. So this is for when the power goes out in the area. If they need to disconnect your system, they just pull it. This is a little sub panel, little circuit breaker, and then all of this runs straight over to the main meter, where the power goes back into the pole. And back into the transformer there, and goes down the power lines so someone else can use it. So I'm still hooked up to the grid, so I still have on demand. If I run a dryer or refrigerator, it's going to turn right on. So you want to match your voltage, your wattage to your panel. So if this is a 250 watt inverter, and you're gonna want to use something close to 250 watts. Most of the panels I use today are 245 watts, so I'm using every bit of the inverter, and that's important. They sell this in a 300 watt, and you might not necessarily need a 300 watt, but it's more expensive. So if you go, say you go 260 watts, you'll have to go to the more expensive inverter. And that might be something you're considering before you do an installation is, what is the wattage of your panels? How many watts do you need your inverter to be? And you also want to match the voltage. Now some panels are higher voltage than others. The ones I'm using today are 50 volts. But what's nice about this inverter is it can handle a 50 volt panel. So some inverters don't. If you're looking at those cheap Chinese, I hate to say, the purple ones, you know, that you get off of Amazon, they're not going to let you plug that in, okay? It's not UL listed. These are UL listed. If the power goes out, they turn off. They're also a wireless unit, and there's a lot of goodies with that. So you want to understand the voltages, you want to understand the wattages. You can scale up to 20 panels on this trunk. It'll go to a circuit, so if each of these panels is putting out an amp, so that'd be a 20 amp circuit, you can do a 20 amp circuit. These inverters have wireless capabilities. There's monitoring, so I can go online and I can these panels right now. These inverters are talking to my wireless router through a CDD unit, or it might be CCD. I think it's CCD unit, and it's a wireless unit that plugs into my router and it monitors each one of these panels. And I can look at the health of my system. It tells me how many kilowatt hours each one's producing. You can get really deep into the minutia of that, and you can get reports. What I like to use is Smart Hub, since I do have these. If you have a smart meter like this, so this is the one that's on the solar array. Okay, there's my disconnect. I have one that's on the solar array, and then I have one here. If you have a Smart Hub, then you can go to Smart Hub. It's a Smart Hub app. And you can look at that, and it basically is a website for your energy usage. You can get your bill information on there. Yeah, it can tell you, it even tells you the weather. So please look into the Smart Hub app. So that's a great place to get started also. But before you buy anything, you want to contact your energy provider, and I'll let you know why, because they're going to want to know your system requirements. They're going to want to make sure everything's UL listed. I think it's 1741 is the UL listing. All these inverters here are UL listed. The microinverters are. If you're buying inverters online and they're not UL listed, your electric provider could have a problem with that, and I've run into problems in the past. So make sure you give them the system requirements and they approve that before you buy your gear. You also want to contact a licensed contractor or an electrician because in most cases you're going to need an inspection, a code inspection, and if you don't have a permit, you can't get an inspection, and only licensed contractors or electricians in the area can get a permit. So you got to make sure you get everybody paid so they can come out and give you the go-ahead. But you should use a licensed contractor. One way I ran into this, and I'll show you right here, is I use PVC here for my stand, and it's not UL listed, and I used it here and it was okay. I did this in New Mexico and it bit me, so I'm not going to be doing this anymore. Although this was pretty efficient. It cost me about $12 per panel. It's something I'm not going to do going forward. But you can also see how I have this anode, this grounding wire. This is a number 6 wire right here. Have this grounding wire to keep this whole system grounded. But if you use an aluminum frame, you're going to have to ground that frame also. That's something to consider. So you will have to contact a licensed contractor and make sure you get the proper permitting so you can get your inspection. If you can't get your inspection, you're going to find yourself all the way to the point you can turn it on, and then they're just not going to let you turn it on, and that'll be very frustrating. And of course, they're going to want a contract. So part of this contract is it going to be net metering or is it going to be interconnection? So I always do interconnection, which means that when I produce energy in the middle of the day, my meter goes backwards and then I just use that up later and nobody pays me for anything. Net metering means that now I'm a power generator and I've got a lot of solar panels out here and I want you to pay me per kilowatt hour. So you have to decide which route you're going to go. And I don't know necessarily what every provider is going to offer. So that is the difference between the two. I always choose interconnection because I use everything I produce and I actually buy a little bit off the grid. But if you're looking to sell back, you'll have to do net metering. And then, of course, they're going to want that manual disconnect. And they're going to put in that second meter. So before you get started, this is a list of the things that you should look for. You're going to want south-facing clear sky. You're going to need your solar panels, your inverters, your rack that you're going to put them on, either UL listed, and if you do UL listed rack, you might look forward to some groundwork also. So this is where a lot of the infrastructure costs come in, is implementing these systems. So if allowed in your area, you might allow your electrician to do it like a unistrut or an aluminum frame, and ground it between each piece, sort of situation. Either way, you're going to need a rack. You're going to need the trunk, And in order to order your trunk, you're going to have to understand the outlay of your solar panels. Are they going to be landscape or are they going to be portrait? Because that determines the length of the trunk. Please understand how they're going to be situated so you can order the proper trunk. And they're going to send you the trunk pre-cut. So it'll have all that you need plus one on it. It gives you plenty of trunk to plug in each panel and then add your box so you can make your final connection. And generally you can use 10 stranded copper American wire gauge, okay? You're going to need your disconnect, and I think you can get an AC, I think it's about 60 amp disconnect at Home Depot for about about $6, I'm sorry, about $6. $30 is going to be your meter box. And your electric company is going to let you know what kind of meter box to get because their meter needs to plug into the socket. So you're going to get your meter box. It's going to be like an empty socket box. I think there's one with a ring and one without a ring, and they'll specify which kind.